Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, it's about to go down. The podcast, the flock rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. The Ravens signed Kyle Van Noy yesterday. Some much-needed veteran pass rusher help. We'll get into why they may have signed him and what he brings to the team, along with some practice squad updates and another IR move. So Kyle Van Noy, he visited with the team a few months ago. We made a video about possibly him signing then and what he would bring to the team, but now it is official. I'm still not sure on the numbers. As I'm filming this, the contract numbers have not been released, but I would imagine his market has dropped considerably just because we're heading into week 4 and he wasn't on a team. So can't imagine it being a lot, but regardless, the cap really doesn't even matter. I'm sure it's a 1-year deal. We're already in budget for this season, and we need help. We need outside linebacker help. Odafe Oweh is dealing with an ankle injury that's considered week to week. We lost David Ojabo pretty much right away in the Colts game. He also has an ankle injury. Tyus Bowser's on IR. He's eligible to return week 5, but we haven't heard much. I'm not sure how his knee's progressing and how he's doing. So we're really thin at outside linebacker. We have Jadeveon Clowney, Tavius Robinson. We just pulled up Jeremiah Moon. But this Kyle Van Noy signing is kind of out of necessity, in my opinion. I liked it when he visited last time. I still like the move. I think he brings a lot of versatility to be able to drop into coverage and rush and a lot of experience. He's a veteran. He's been in the Super Bowl and the Patriots and been on a lot of teams and played in a lot of different defenses and usually is productive every time he is on the field. So I trust that he's going to bring something to this defense. He's going to bring a sense of stability to this defense. And when Ojabo and Oweh come back, I think there'll be a nice rotation. We were talking at the beginning of the year whether it would be Clowney or Van Noy. You know, we probably couldn't afford both. Well, now we have both. Obviously, Ojabo and Oweh, who we were really high on and counting on to be our young, pass rush core that blossoms into a elite pass rush. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but they're not even available. So we got to go to the vets, But I think when Ojabo and Oweh come back, we'll have that perfect pass rush depth situation that we were dreaming about in the offseason of having Van Noy and Clowney. Clowney's been playing out of his mind. If you throw on the film, Clowney is balling out there. And for $2 million, might be one of the best signings we've had. It's still obviously early in the season, and he needs to stay healthy and play, the majority of this season as well. But I love what I'm seeing from Clowney, and I think Van Noy is going to bring a lot to this defense. The only reason I guess I'm a little concerned is that we just don't have Ojabo or Oweh or who knows what's going on with Tyus Bowser. Those are my concerns. I don't want to just have to, throw Clowney and Van Noy into these premier roles and put a lot of toll on their bodies because they're older and they're veterans who probably could sustain injuries as well. So you don't want to just have to throw a guy to the fire. And we'll see what the injury report looks today for practice, but it seems like if Van Noy is up for it and is in shape, that he's going to be kind of thrown into the fire this week against Cleveland. Or if not this week, then definitely next week against Pittsburgh. But regardless, he's going to get a lot of playing time right away in some key division games, unless Ojabo and Oweh can come back to practice. Like I said, I still think Van Noy would play, but that would significantly lower his playing time if Oweh and Ojabo can return to practice this week. But we'll see. I mean, this week's injury report throughout the week, I'm not quite as concerned with today's. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if anyone returns at all. But heading into Thursday and Friday towards the end of the week, I'd like to see Marlon Humphrey practicing. hopefully Ojabo or Oweh or both of them. I still don't think Marcus Williams is going to come back. Hopefully Tyler Linderbaum and or Ronnie Stanley return to practice. These are key guys that we really need to get back. Justice Hill I'd like to see return to practice. So if we can have some of those guys even practicing in a limited form this week, I feel like we're in good shape. But if we have an injury report and practice report like we had last week with a bunch of these did not practices, I'll throw Odell into that too. I'd love to get Odell back. But if we have a practice report and injury report like we had last week, we're heading into this week thin again, and I just don't want to see that. It comes back to bite us. I know there's a million excuses as to why you can lose a game, but when you got like 10 starters out of 22, it's just, I'm not making an excuse. It's just the reason why the team's struggling, you know what I mean? Or a huge part of it. I'm not, absolving blame from the guys that are out there, especially the key guys. Lamar needs to play a little bit better. The coaching needs to be better. But the injuries just keep piling up. And there's only so much that you can survive. If we didn't have any injuries across the board and we were rolling in with our healthy team, I still feel like we would be 3-0 right now and probably have a lot less growing pains. But that's just not how it goes. And it seems that there's just an injury bug floating around in Baltimore for the third straight year. So we're going to have to deal with it. We're going to have to navigate it. It is really next man up, and this depth of this roster is being tested. The good thing is, the reason I can still hold out hope is that so many guys are coming back, and I feel like with a signing like Van Noy, just to add him into the mix of Oweh, Ojabo, Tyus Bowser, Van Noy, and Clowney, that's a beautiful mix. It's just they got to get on the field. They got to stay on the field. I got to believe Marlon Humphrey's coming back probably this week. I don't want to assume that, but if not, then you should have put him on IR because then he could come back week 5 like the other guys. So I thought that they didn't put him on IR because they assumed that he would be back in the first 4 weeks. So would love to see Marlon Humphrey back at practice. I feel like that instantly boosts our entire defense even further. Not that our defense is playing bad. I think we have the second best pass defense in the entire NFL right now, which is just mind-blowing. I think a lot of that is scheme and strategy as well, but I don't want to absolve the players from that either. Brandon Stevens has been playing well. Ronald Darby has stepped up in for the role that he's in and played tremendous. And obviously, Roquan and Patrick Queen and Kyle Hamilton and Jadeveon Clowney, these guys are balling. Michael Pierce, Travis Jones. I love what I'm seeing from all these guys, and the defensive unit as a whole is doing enough. The offense is definitely a bigger reason for concern, but I'm glad that we continue to shore this defense up with a signing like Kyle Van Noy. We just got to stay healthy. Speaking of health, in some other news, Tylan Wallace was placed on IR with a hamstring injury that he suffered in the Colts game on special teams. So they re-signed Josh Johnson. And then we also cut Kyle Fuller, the guard, and Ben Mason. And we re-signed Tariq Black and Dante Demas. So I'm glad Demas is back on the practice squad. Just a couple minor moves there because of the Tylan Wallace injury. And then obviously Odell's still out, so we don't know how long he's going to be out. Bateman tweaked his hamstring in the game. Don't know if he's going to be practicing at all. So they want to bring some more wide receivers up just for security. Hopefully those guys are good, Odell and Bateman, because we can't really afford a bunch of injuries to the wide receiver room. Odell was already out. I thought Bateman was going to be able to step into a bigger role, and he was not able to, and that's not necessarily on him either. I mean, I definitely saw some clips floating around where he was wide open, and Lamar just wasn't making the right reads, was staring at Zay a lot, throwing a lot of short passes, not willing to push the ball downfield, which still confuses me. I hope that doesn't continue. That wasn't what happened in week 2, so I don't want to expect that to continue. I don't think that should be the expectation, is like, oh, we have a cramped, bunched offense that doesn't create space and doesn't push the ball down the field. But that's what happened last week. That's definitely what happened last week. Once again, just pressure and confusion of blitzes just throws this offense off. It throws the line off. Lamar's not really aware of where the blitz is coming, and then he's making bad reads or or missing throws. Those things just got to get cleaned up, have to get cleaned up. You're not going to survive, especially against great offenses that may score some more points than that. You're just not going to survive week to week. We're going to have a very up and down season. So we just got to shore that up. We got to shore the mistakes up. I believe in this defense. The offense, I definitely lost some trust. I feel like they're going to be inconsistent. Regardless, we just got to get healthy as a team. We have so many guys that are close to returning, at least within the next few weeks. We need to get them back, and we got to stay healthy for the most part. Obviously, there's going to be another couple injuries throughout the rest of the season, but we got to get this group back and keep them on the field, and then we could really see what we got and really build chemistry and momentum and head towards that peak 2023 Baltimore Ravens team that we all know we can be. It's like the last few seasons, you just can't, you're just not good enough. You put a roster in place and pay all this money to have them on the field, and then when half of them feels like they're out, you just can't expect consistency, and you can't expect to see the team that you've been looking at on paper all off season. So it is what it is. It's where we're at. We obviously have a ton of injuries. The injury report as it rolls out the rest of this week is going to be really interesting. We'll see if anyone returns today. Like I said, if they don't return today, I don't think it's the end of the world. But if people aren't practicing, Thursday and Friday, then they're most likely not playing. Especially Marlon Humphrey. We probably need to see him have a full week of practice, at least in a limited fashion, just because he's been out for so long. So sometimes it takes a week just to get you back into somewhat football shape. He's still not going to be in football shape until he's out there in a game, but I think he needs a full week of practice. Some of the other guys, maybe limited. Odell and Oweh and Ojabo, I feel like they could still play if they're just even like logging some limited sessions at least later in the week. But we'll see. I think the injury report is going to tell all, and I'm sure that's what Harbaugh will say as well. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys next time.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.